Hi friends, it is Monday and it is 10 o'clock at night and I just got home from my play rehearsal practice. Yeah, I need some wine. um, we were doing costume stuff tonight and I have 11 costume changes in a roughly 2 hour span of time. Yay! I'm a little bit tired and kind of starting to panic a little bit. We're not going to talk about that. What we're going to talk about today is Shakespeare's Measure for Measure, specifically the role of Isabella. Now, Measure for Measure, briefly, is about a Duke of Vienna who decides that he is going to take a hiatus from being the Duke, and he tells one of his guys, Angelo, to take his place. And what he's really doing is kind of spying on Angelo to see how he governs and if he's like kind of enforcing some laws that have not really been being enforced for a while, and he's just seeing how that goes over and like what that kind of thing. So he is going to disguise himself, because that's something that Shakespeare likes to do, disguise himself as a friar and just kind of spy on things and see how things are going in Vienna. And Angelo is kind of a self-righteous butthole. Let's just say that. And he throws a guy named Claudio in jail and sentences him to death by beheading for getting his girlfriend pregnant. Meanwhile, when Claudio's sister Isabella gets wind of this from his friend Lucio, Lucio asks Isabella, who is just about to become a nun and therefore quite virtuous, and that's kind of one of the themes of this play is the morality, like civil morality as opposed to spiritual morality, and the juxtaposition of those two things with also the virtues of forgiveness and mercy in the Christian scheme of thinking. So, obviously Isabella does not want her brother to be executed, and she actually kind of, is kind of like, well, just let him marry her. If she's pregnant, yeah, he should marry her. But, kind of what's the big deal? So she goes to Angelo and begs for her brother to, be pardoned. And Angelo, being the class act that he is, tries to blackmail her into having sex with him. Not only is that wrong, to blackmail a girl into having sex with you, let's not forget that Claudio is in jail for having premarital relations with his girlfriend. So Angelo is basically wanting to do the same thing, except he's going one better, and this girl doesn't even like him. So basically, he's, sexually assaulting her. So that's, that's a timeless classic, isn't it? But basically, the kind of weird thing, and the big thing of the story is Isabella says no. I mean, her brother's life is on the line here, and she's like, heck no, I am not going to give up my virtue, my virginity, just to keep my brother alive, because she feels her moral code would, number one, she believes it's a sin for her to do that, and she thinks that it's a sin for, later she talks to Claudio, and of course Claudio doesn't want to die, so he tries to make her do what Angelo wants her to do. And she gets mad and thinks that Claudio is going to commit a sin even for suggesting that she do this. So, you know, that's the basic premise of the story, is what happens when all this goes down. And it's basically considered a comedy, although it's a problem comedy or a problem play. That's one of the categories, because it's a comedy. Nobody dies, spoiler alert, in the end, but it takes on a very dark tone. Like, there's threats of execution. There's, really big problems mixed into this comedy. Um, and I thought this was fascinating. Hold on, wine break. I really just think that Isabella is a really interesting, strong character, because on the surface level, we might look at a sister who would not be willing to, save her brother's life in such a simple way. And we might look at her and be like, girl, come on, your brother is going to die. Like, just do what he says. But at the same time, she's seeing what a jackass Angelo is being. And it never specifically says this, but I think that she knows in the back of her head that Angelo is not going to come through on his promise to set Claudio free if she does this. And, through different events in the play, we see that would have been the case. So, I think my personal feelings on Isabella is that she basically did do the right thing. She wasn't going to let a man force her into giving up something that she felt was of the utmost importance to her. And no matter what the cost, she was going to keep her virginity, her virtue, and her spiritual purity, because that was the thing that was the most important to her. Obviously, when Claudio gets, his sister tells him what's happening, and she's like, sorry, dude, you're going to have to prepare to be executed, because I'm not giving it up just so that you can live. I mean, you're the one that had premarital sex with your girlfriend. You knew that was against the rules. I can't help you, and I'm not going to help you in that way. Like, I can keep trying by other means, but sorry, you're going to have to make peace with your consequences. And I actually find that pretty dang remarkable on Isabella's part. I mean, let's be real here. I don't know that I would go, be that strong. Like, I don't know that I could have the death of my brother on my shoulders like that. Even though I knew it was wrong of him to blackmail me like that, I don't know that I would feel right about, not doing what he said to get my brother out of it, even though, eventually that isn't what happens anyway. He doesn't keep his promise because he's a jackass. So yeah, I really found Isabella's strength and morality really intriguing, and actually in the story, the Duke, who is disguised as a friar, hears this conversation between Isabella and Claudio, and he decides as the friar to befriend Isabella and help her to kind of trick Angelo, and ultimately gets Claudio free. And in a way, I feel like that's kind of like your convictions, and if you stay strong to your convictions, they will be rewarded. And I mean, I kind of felt like that was maybe the theme of this. Like she was willing to let her brother die to keep her virginity intact. And the Duke saw this and was like, well, I'm not gonna let that happen. But I really admire this woman for her intelligence and her strength, and just her stubbornness, basically. And I feel like she, in the end, was rewarded. But what's even more interesting, and this is a spoiler for the end of that, is that the Duke, of course, like, and in all the comedies, proposes marriage to Isabella in the end, and she doesn't answer. It's another one, like in Love's Labor's Lost, where it does end with some other weddings, but it doesn't end with Isabella and the Duke tying the knot or even having that promise. And it's really interesting, like, why does she not answer? Why does she get interrupted before she answers? I was reading some different interpretations, and some places just, kind of blow that off, and it's like, she's just, that she's just silent about it, but she's like, yeah, I'm gonna marry this guy. Um, but other people kind of treat it like she still doesn't know, like her virtue is still really important to her, and she originally wants to become a nun, and so that whole thing of like marriage to Christ or marriage to the Duke, but can those two things be one? Like, would she have to give up what she has always viewed as the more important thing in her life to marry the Duke? So I thought that was also really interesting that she doesn't answer him. And we end the play with the two most important protagonists in this whole thing not necessarily getting married. I thought that Isabella's character was one of the most interesting that so far that I have read in Shakespeare, one of the most interesting women, and I would really like to delve more into that. Again, like Love's Labor's Lost, I would love to see a stage version of this. I think when I get more time, which isn't going to happen for a while anymore, because 2 weeks until my show opens. 2 weeks. And I'm still not like 100% on my lines, people. So there will be no frivolous entertainment. I do want to still read for ShakeTube, and I want to read, The Winter's Tale, which I know I have read before. But again, I don't really remember a whole heck of a lot about it. So I'm excited to read that one. We shall see if it happens. I'm hoping it does. It might be by the end of the week. But if it does, I will have another video. We'll see if I get Henry VIII. I would like to, but things are just getting a little crazy right now. So, but yeah, I'm just eventually, like, when this whole play thing is over, I think I'm gonna go back to a few of these plays and see what I can find online to watch some staged versions of them, because like Love's Labor's Lost, I think, is going to be a really fun show, and Measure for Measure, I'd just like to really see like a lot of those interactions happen, and just like see how it even goes on stage. But anyway, I hope everybody is having a great week, and I will probably do this in separate videos because I am already rambling, and I haven't even had much wine yet. So, but I'm gonna go get into some PJs, drink the rest of my wine, maybe have a snack because I'm starting to get a little hungry, even though it's like 10:30 at this point. So, things are starting to go down around here, people. let's see if I can keep up this pace. All right, friends. I will talk to you soon, hopefully. Cheers.